So I deleted social media to be more productive, I guess. Since I'm my new productive self, I decided to go to the gym. When I tell you, I went into the gym, I saw three men there. That's three too many. And I originally planned on just going on the treadmill for 10 minutes tops, maybe 15 if I'm feeling athletic. I was there for like 10 minutes on the treadmill, and what I fucking hear is a man grunting. Oh, like is that like a thing with men that work out where like they have to make noise? Yeah. He was doing I don't know what this workout is, but like this workout where they pull and then I think it works out their triceps or something. He was doing that, and like I just hear him grunting behind me. I'm like, oh, why would a man be there? Why would a man be there? Ew. Hello, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of Beautifully Nuanced. How are you? The reason why I'm in like business attire right now is because I had an MUN conference online earlier, and this is the dress code. I changed the shirt underneath, but this was the blazer I had on earlier, and I don't want to do more laundry. But I decided to get a new fucking shirt. I don't know. To go into the topic of this podcast, recently I've had a very busy week. Actually, no, I've had a busy couple of weeks. I had my quiz week, and then right after I had my midterms. And then this week I have an MUN conference, so like it's just back to back, which I can't catch a fucking break. But usually, when I have a lot of things to do and would require a lot of discipline, I would delete social media. Specifically, I would delete my like doom scrolling apps, which are Instagram because of Reels and TikTok. I keep all of my communication social media apps because I need those to survive. I need to message people, I need to get updates for school, I need to message my parents, like I need my messenger because in that case I am completely cut off from civilization at that point. Does that make me stop doom scrolling? No, because I decide to keep Pinterest and then I just use that to doom scroll. But at the same time, I doom scroll less, and that's all that matters. And I get my shit done. Look at me with my fucking business attire. Who are you to tell me, "Oh, you never actually detox from social media. You never actually got rid of your social media." It's not tangible for me. Usually when I watch productivity YouTubers. A lot of the productivity content that is out there online usually consists of a social media detox. Detoxing yourself from doom scrolling, how to stop doom scrolling on your phone, how to stop your phone addiction, stuff like that. The first thing that I noticed was how disconnected I feel from other people. And not necessarily because, oh, I'm not on Reels or I'm not on TikTok, so I can't see the Reels that my friends are sending me or I can't see my messages on there. Realize how disconnected I feel because all of my friends are on social media and they would make certain internet references that I'm not familiar with. And keep in mind, at this point in time, I've like deleted social media for only a week or like a week and a half or something. Less than a month I didn't have social media, and even then I was still relatively like online. I still like messaged people. I still had Facebook, I still had Pinterest. I still had access to Instagram from my computer so I can reply to messages. But even then, I felt so disconnected from people because I wasn't able to relate to all of the internet references that my friends were making. And I felt disconnected online because I realized that a lot of people post updates about their life on social media. And now I realize that the way that I get updates on people's lives is by conversing with them. And given like our busy schedules, if like my friends live in a different city or have just really busy schedules and we don't have time to meet, I'm just like, in a way, just completely deleted from their life. Not completely deleted, but I'm archived. I'm archived from their life temporarily. And like, I just don't know what's going on unless I actually have a conversation with them. And given how busy I was for the past few weeks, obviously I'm not going to be able to set up some sort of hangout with them. That's basically like my personal experience with deleting social media. But I'd also like to talk about like the grander scheme of things. So a lot of people on the internet would like to talk about how social media is a very distracting place, and also how social media is a very toxic and degrading place. So there are people who make the decision to completely eradicate social media usage, or they would minimize their social media usage to a very extreme extent. This made me think about this one guy from one of those like online debate things. The girl from Cambridge that debated Charlie Kirk, I think her name is Tilly, had another debate online. They talk about whether or not billionaires are ethical. And he said something along the lines of, does Elon Musk really affect you that much? Tilly, the girl from Cambridge, replies to him by saying that, well, for one thing, he owns Twitter, he owns X. He then responds to that by saying, then don't go on Twitter then. And he goes on this like tangent of, I just don't go on social media, I can't deal with all the noise and stuff like that. Basically, a lot of the comments were talking about how out of touch and privileged that response was, which I kind of agree. Actually, I really agree with that. The fact that people who delete social media because it's a toxic place, or there's a lot of things going on, or it's like distracting from what is going on in their actual lives. Basically, the fact that you remove social media basically puts you in this sort of bubble where you don't participate in society. That's exactly what Tilly said in her response to him. It made me think about how prior to social media, people who are privileged, at most, they would only be able to hear about the misfortunes of society via like verbal messaging or by text. Like they wouldn't actually be able to like fully comprehend the struggles of like being in a war-ridden country, because that's not like, sure, they like are sure, they're aware of the idea that people are suffering in the world, but in a way, just like knowing that people are suffering in the world and like having some sort of visceral reaction to it is completely different, or like actually experiencing hardships is like something completely different. Because now, with the existence of social media, with being able to see news about the war going on in the Middle East right now, or by hearing about the news about the genocide in Sudan, seeing those kinds of content is a way for people, even if they're in a comfortable situation, for people to actually visualize what hardships people from across the world are going through. There's content being put out on the internet, regardless of whether or not it's widespread or if it's censored, wherein they show the effects of being in a war-ridden country, or they show the effects of like a genocide. It just made me realize that people who delete social media because they don't want to deal with that noise, like, live in their own sort of bubble when they do. Whether or not they delete social, like, regardless of the reason of why they delete social media, the fact that they delete social media in the first place makes them disconnected to this certain part of like what's going on in the world. Even in the case where like you yourself aren't being affected by what's going on social media, and you're unaware of what's going on online, just because you're not on social media doesn't mean other people are not on social media either. So you can't control what other people consume on the internet and how it affects them outside of being online. In the video, I remember Tilly mentioned how ever since Elon Musk bought Twitter, there's a push of more right wing red pill content on the app. And she talked about how there's an increase of violence towards women, there's more misogyny and stuff like that. So basically, even if you're not on social media yourself, you can't control what other people are doing on there, which is why it's the responsibility of social media companies to properly regulate their apps. But when someone as fucking powerful as Elon Musk, with connections to politics and the president, that is something that can't be controlled. And that's frightening. Like, sure, you can say, oh, it's just a social media app. It's online. It won't affect you. Like, no, that's not true. Like, the push in, like, right wing red pill content online, and, like, the emergence of a bunch of radical right wing creators, such as, like, Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes, Erica Kirk recently. Just a bunch of these like right wing creators, the emergence of them. And before them, there was Andrew Tate. So like other people who do see this content, sure, there's going to be a portion of people that are like, oh, this is fucked up. Like there are people who are able to identify that what they're watching is fucked up and wrong. But at the same time, other people could be susceptible and easily convinced by this type of content, and that is very harmful for when they actually interact with minorities, and when they talk about this with other people, they're able to spread these very harmful ideals that could be harmful towards like marginalized communities. Then again, it really is the responsibility of social media companies to regulate their platforms and what kind of content is being pushed out. But regardless, these are private companies and they're profit incentivized. Woo! Yay! Amazing. So it is unlikely that unless there's like a concrete legislation that like, I mean, sure, there's like the bare minimum of like no extremely violent content. Like there's this baseline of censorship that is done within like social media apps regardless. But aside from that, certain content, while still follows the guidelines, there's it still could potentially be harmful. Like the way that like right-wing red pill creators are able to talk about their ideas on social media apps, they accompany it with a certain level of reason that could be convincing if somebody is questioning their own political beliefs, or someone who's relatively moderate, because either because they're well spoken or because oh, their line of logic does sound reasonable in a sense. But unless you have some sort of media literacy and are able to differentiate, oh, this is like harmful and this is okay, maybe, it's very easy for people to buy into that. And companies are likely still going to let it exist on the app because it does bring engagement. Since it is operated by algorithms, it is most likely not going to be taken off the app, or it would have to have like such a dramatic effect or like such a strong opposition to it for it to be taken down from the platform in the first place. The example that I put on here, where how it's unlikely that companies will like get rid of harmful content because it is able to generate them profit. Israel paying YouTube to promote Zionist apps on the platform. Basically, if you have enough money, political connections, you can escape any sort of legislation. And that's really fucking harmful to a democracy. Because if you are able to promote certain ideals through marketing strategies by constantly exposing these kinds of ideals, these kinds of contents to such a vast amount of people, to the point where they are able to provide you democratic support, it is extremely harmful for the rest of us. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I'm low-key panicking. Okay, I'm filming this like a couple weeks after the war in the Middle East broke out, so like I'm kind of but like I drafted this script before the war came out, and like the points that I have to make, like they're still fucking true. What I mean to say by this is people's attention is another form of currency nowadays. People's likes, engagement, followers, that is a form of currency. Being somebody who's on social media and knows some people who are also on social media, sure, certain people just make like silly little videos on the internet, and that's what the internet is about. It's about fun, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a numbers game, and people found a way to profit off of social media, even though like originally YouTube was a platform to post videos and stuff. And then they implemented a way for creators to be able to make a livelihood out of it, which overall I think is good. YouTubers are still highly reliant on viewer attention, sponsorships, because the way in which sponsors are able to like pay certain influencers to promote something, the way that they're able to do that is by checking your social media metrics, basically like watch time, views, engagement, subscribers, followers, and stuff like that. So regardless, people's attention is now a form of currency, basically. Next thing I'd like to talk about. Okay, wait, that's hot. I might wait. Should I take off my blazer? Wait, I'll take off my blazer. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the rise of short form content. Basically, with short form content such as reels, shorts, TikToks, and stuff like that. The problem with them is not just the fact that they shorten your attention span and they're easily distracting and your mind gets some sort of dopamine rush whenever you like scroll on a reel, lowers your memory and stuff like that. That's a given with short form content. What I find harmful about short form, like the rise of short form content, you can't choose what shows up on your screen whenever you scroll. Unlike prior to TikTok and reels and stuff like that, people would consume content on YouTube and they would have to consciously choose what video they would like to watch before clicking on it. Choose between a bunch of videos that are lined up on their explore page on YouTube and they would pick a video. That's not something that is widely known in short form content. When you scroll, you don't know what you're scrolling on next. And usually, what content will show up on your feed is based on how long you are able to stay engaged with certain reels. If you're able to like watch an entire like 2-minute video on reels, that is what you are going to get more of on the platform. Even more so if you share the reel or if you like the reel. And the thing is with Instagram and TikTok, everybody shares TikToks and reels to each other. So even if you're sharing a reel that you're not necessarily in support of, which happens a lot with me because for some reason I get a bunch of like red pill content on my reels. During those times, if ever I were to like share it with my friends and like discuss on it, the more it's going to show up on my For You page. A lot of harmful red pill content is usually very engaging to the point where like even if you know that idea where like something is so bad but you can't stop watching it, that is basically the effect that like red pill content has. And eventually if you're exposed to such extreme rhetoric all the time, you're going to be desensitized by it or you're going to actually be convinced by it. The thing with short form content is algorithms are becoming more and more customized towards people's tastes, and usually people's feeds are becoming more niche. The way in which people are able to connect with one another is by shared interests, talking about similar things, talking about similar experiences and stuff like that. But the thing is, with short form content, with it being more customized, more niche towards your interests, the less like material you were able to use when you're engaging with conversation with someone else. In my generation, like our teenage years were spent during the pandemic. So a good portion of teenagers, college students, a good portion of them aren't able to like properly converse with other people. And that becomes a problem because it lessens the sense of community on a larger scale. There was this one video from MatPat, film theorists, I think. I'll try to link all of the videos that I'm referencing on here in the description, but that video was from a couple years ago. And he basically talks about how like social media is changing at such a dramatic rate. And I'm pretty sure this was during the pandemic, maybe 2021. Algorithm has probably changed from like what he discussed in that video. But basically, he talked about the way in which they consumed content was through the radio, through TV shows, cable, and that's basically how people consume content. With those kinds of media, since there is not as much of a plethora of options for people to choose from, it's not as like easy to make content. There's less options for people to choose from, therefore people would have more common interests. And the example that MatPat talked about in the video was even something considered niche at the time. He mentioned Star Trek, However, even though like Star Trek was something considered niche at the time, over like 13 million people watched it. And the thing with having like common shared interests through consuming forms of media is everyone, regardless of what their age or demographic is, they would be able to form their interests based on these forms of media that are wildly known towards like a vast amount of people. When I talked with my friend, I think they were making a joke and I didn't understand what the joke is. And they were like, oh, we're on different sides of TikTok. As I overthink it, as one does, I'm like, oh, this could potentially be like disconnecting if it gets like so serious. When I re-downloaded TikTok, I saw this one video and the caption was, there aren't any good YouTube videos anymore. Or like, she was trying to find something to watch while she eats and she was like, oh, there are no good YouTube videos for me to like watch while I eat anymore. Now that I think about it, maybe that's the reason why I go on TikTok and Reels more often, is because I'm more entertained by the content that's on there. Ironic, because I'm posting this on YouTube right now and I'm gonna put it on Spotify. And admittedly, like, this is probably gonna be past 30 minutes. It might even reach an hour. Who knows how long I'm gonna be fucking recording this. But admittedly, back then, I used to have such, like, a love for YouTube. And if anything, like, I still love YouTube. Like, YouTube is my favorite platform to watch on. But if I compare, like, the videos that I used to watch when I was younger, because I was a fucking iPad kid, I used to watch, like, those back to school YouTube videos. Like, those were very entertaining for me. Lord DIY, My Life is Ava, like, basically 2016 again. That was, like, my favorite era of YouTube because I don't know. I feel like it was because it was the last time life was happy and bright, entertaining and bright. I don't know how to explain it now that I think about it. Like a lot of the comments I know is because of oversaturation. There's not much variation in terms of the YouTube videos that I'm seeing online. A lot of the comments were talking about how, oh, now YouTube videos are just like aesthetic productivity vlogs. The main issue in terms of like the enjoyment that people have on YouTube is because they like to see something new. They like to see variation in terms of the content that they're able to see. But nowadays, in order for them to make a video that performs well on the app, they would sort of have to follow this like formula that works for the algorithm and works for engagement. People, that's why like YouTube sort of seems repetitive. It's because of that oversaturation of that kind of content. There's also an oversaturation of fucking podcasts right now. So, kind of hypocritical of me if you think about it, but hey, speaking of influencers that create content that performs well, um there ever since the rise of short form content, there has been a rise in influencer marketing. So I think because it became like wildly known that as a creator you are able to make money from the videos that you make, either through monetization or through sponsorships, there was a rise of influencer marketing. So like in TikTok shop, I'm pretty sure they get some sort of commission when people buy from the yellow basket. So that's why you on like TikTok and stuff like that, there's more people like promoting their product. Usually those are UGC creators as far as I know, where they are usually like the same repetitive stuff and then brands pay them to like use their content to promote their brand and stuff like that. And aside from UGC creators, there's also micro influencers where they're also able to promote products on their platforms and stuff like that. At some point, like capitalism fucking takes over everything. Yeah, the platform basically became an online shopping platform. The moment I get a fucking sponsorship on this podcast, I'm gonna be like, guys, capitalism. Sell out. Yay, capitalism. But yeah, the thing is, I don't want to demonize these like creators at all because they're just a part of this. They're a cog in the machine, as they say. But like I can't blame them. That's how they're able to provide for themselves. That's how they're able to make money. It's more so a critique of the system that they're put in. Okay, just to clarify, guys. The next thing I'll talk about is how are you able to actually detox from social media without actually deleting it? Like, how are you able to reap the benefits of not having social media while also being able to connect with other people and their interests? The first one is unfollowing or maybe even blocking creators that could breed like toxic ideals for you. It's not just limited to like red pill content creators that push like far right rhetoric. Like it could also be people that make you feel insecure. Comparison with other people is completely normal, but jealousy, when left untreated, could create very harmful effects. There are creators that make you feel insecure or are pushing harmful rhetoric. It's best to unfollow them. Don't engage because they shouldn't get that attention because your attention is currency, as I talked about earlier. If ever you do come across like certain content that is harmful or toxic, start by clicking not interested on those kinds of posts. Best not to engage with it because if you engage with it by leaving a hateful comment or by sharing it, that still pays them in a way if they're like monetizing off of it. There's a possibility that by you interacting with it, it's gonna get pushed more onto the platform for other people. Other people who don't see that it's harmful are going to buy into it. So it's best to just not engage with it at all. Click not interested. Next is following creators that are actually beneficial for you. Like, I don't know. I don't know. This is not me like fucking glazing myself. Like, what's beneficial for you is probably going to be different depending on who is watching this. This feels parasocial, but yeah. But basically, following creators that are not only beneficial for you, that are potentially going to be beneficial by other people. This is just a reminder that what you give your attention to does not only affect you, it affects other people as well, whether you are aware of it or not. That ends this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully, you are able to consume media online with due diligence and you're able to stay far away from harmful content online. Please don't engage with them. Please, no. Thank you guys so much for watching and bye bye. Mwah.